The top stories tonight in Y News. 4 of the 5-man advisory group convened yesterday with Philippine National Police Chief Police General Rodolfo Azurin Jr. plan to begin the evaluation of the submitted courtesy resignations at the next meeting. A medical specialist filed some complaints against Department of Health Officer in Charge Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere and 6 others before the Office of the Ombudsman. The Department of Health announces a Filipino with no travel history is the first COVID-19 XBB 1.1.5. And the World Health Organization confirms first Marburg disease outbreak in Equatorial Guinea. Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Tuesday, February 14, 2023. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media channels. I am William Theo. First in the news. 4 of the 5-man advisory group has convened yesterday, February 13. In the statement released by the Philippine National Police, they will begin the evaluation of the submitted courtesy resignations at the next meeting. Leah Ilagan will tell us why.
The members of the 5-man advisory group convened yesterday at Camp Crame. In a statement issued by Philippine National Police Public Information Office Chief Police Colonel Red Maranan, only Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong, Justice Melchor Sadanga, Undersecretary Isagani Neres, and PNP Chief Police General Rodolfo Azurin Jr. were present during the meeting. The PNP chief said they have discussed the guidelines to be used for the evaluation.
Initially, kami nang gumawa ng draft. Ako na yung about the scope, about the limitation, about the house rule na gagawin. So yung final draft na gagamitin namin base sa recommendations ng other members ng advisory group.
Azurin added, they will also evaluate those received intelligence reports on the third-level officers.
Hindi lang intel siguro to include yung mga ibang mga documentations like yung mga cases which was filed by these officers when they were operating sa war on drugs, ano yung status ng mga kaso na inimbestigahan nila. So that would also be part of the basis para malaman natin kung yung bang mga cases na i-file ay it will stand in court or na-file and then eventually na-dismiss because of some technicalities and why.
Chief PNP assured that they will evaluate the third-level officers without bias.
We will process, we will evaluate, we will assess. Ngayon, sabi ng kanya ni George is after na ma-process kasi ng 5-man advisory group, dadalhin yan sa NAPOLCOM for final review before it will be forwarded to the President for his approval.
The advisory group targets to complete the entire process within 3 months. Leah Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, a Department of Health medical specialist filed some complaints against DOH Officer in Charge Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere and 6 others before the Office of the Ombudsman yesterday. Dante Amento tells us why.
Dr. Clarito Cairo Jr., Medical Officer 4 of the Cancer Control Division, Disease Prevention and Control Bureau of the Department of Health or DOH Main Office, accused Health Officer in Charge Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere and 6 other DOH officials that allegedly connived over the sub-allotment of the more than 700 million pesos cancer patients funds in 2022. He filed complaints over grave misconduct, violation of the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, and malversation of public funds before the Office of the Ombudsman yesterday, February 13. Cairo said from 786 million pesos funds for cancer patients, it was reduced to 781 million. In addition, the 31 access sites or hospitals where cancer medicines are allocated was made 20. Thus, some cancer patients were forced to terminate their medication.
Kasama na sa access sites ang Philippine General Hospital, Rizal Medical Center, at Amang Rodriguez Memorial Medical Center dyan sa Marikina. So itong tatlong nito na noong 2011 pa, tinanggal nitong 2022. Ang dami pasyente dyan.
Dr. Cairo asked the Ombudsman to suspend the respondents. Meanwhile, Undersecretary Vergere said they have not yet received a copy of the complaint. However, they are ready to answer all the accusations.
Sa ngayon, hindi pa rin namin nakikita yung eksakto na kino-complain about sa amin. Gusto ko lang po bigyan ng assurance sa ating mga kababayan, lahat po ng ginagawa natin na proseso para po sa ating mga programa, specific dito sa inaakusa na cancer fund, ay above board. Everything was done in a transparent manner. Hindi lamang po ang kagawaran ng kalusugan ang nagbigay ng direksyon at desisyon dito.
Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Department of Justice or DOJ Secretary Crispin Boying Remulla asked the National Prosecution Service to transfer the plunder complaint against suspended Bureau of Corrections or Bucor Chief Gerald Bantag to the Office of the Ombudsman. Remulla explained the case is not within their jurisdiction. Last week, Bucor Acting Director General Gregorio Catapang Jr. filed a plunder complaint against Bantag and other Bucor officials over the unfinished 3 regional correctional facility projects worth 900 million pesos.
I advise them to bring the cases to the Ombudsman. At least the prosecutors here can refer it to the Ombudsman because we shouldn't be handling things that may be beyond their jurisdiction.
In other news, the Sugar Regulatory Administration Board has approved the importation of sugar in the country. Half of it will serve as the national buffer stock. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
Go signal from President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is needed to start the importation of 440,000 metric tons of refined sugar as approved by the Sugar Regulatory Administration or SRA Board. According to SRA Board member Pablo Ascona, the 100,000 metric tons needs to arrive immediately to address the price of sugar in the market. Another 100,000 metric tons will be scheduled to arrive in April, and the 240,000 metric tons will set aside as buffer stock, equals the consumption of the country for 2 months.
The idea of government po at the moment is to have the sugar in country. Kasi it will stabilize everything when everybody knows that we already have sugar here in reserve. That is the main idea of that 240 buffer stock.
Farmers and consumers group voiced their concern this morning in front of the Central Office of the Department of Agriculture because of the high prices of agricultural commodities. They are also against importation including sugar.
Palakasin ang lokal na produksyon ng pagkain, hindi importasyon.
Jason Kainglet, the Executive Director of the Samaang Industriya ng Agrikultura or SINAG, doubted that the sugar importation will influence the price in the market.
Kung ang sinasabing dahilan ng SME o yung nagpupush ng sugar importation is to lower the retail price, unfortunately hindi siya nangyayari. And in fact, ang resulta talaga niya, kawawa yung producers dahil sila yung tinatamaan ng any importation announcement.
Aside from the importation that will be managed by the SRA, the Philippines will also import 64,000 metric tons of sugar under the minimum access volume as stated in the procedure of the World Trade Organization. Ray Pilayo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And for our news abroad, at least 9 people died in Equatorial Guinea, a country on the west coast of Central Africa, due to the first outbreak of the Marburg virus in the country. Marburg virus, a highly infectious and deadly disease comparable to Ebola virus, has symptoms such as fever, fatigue, and blood-stained vomit and diarrhea, and it also has a fatality rate of up to 88%, according to the World Health Organization or WHO. More than 200 people have been quarantined in the country due to an unknown hemorrhagic fever, and 16 suspected cases of the virus has been reported. Neighboring country Cameroon has also restricted movement on its border to prevent spreading the virus. The deaths have been linked to a funeral ceremony, and the samples sent to a laboratory in Senegal confirmed one as positive for the Marburg virus disease, and WHO said that the teams are now conducting contact tracing and isolating and treating suspected cases. Currently, there are no vaccines or antiviral treatments approved to treat the virus. The death of Russian soldiers per day continues to increase as the nation launches their big offensive on Ukraine. Paul Gatchalian will tell us why.
According to Ukrainian data, which was also highlighted by the United Kingdom's Ministry of Defense, around 824 Russian soldiers per day lose their lives this month of February. While the data is not verified, the UK's Ministry of Defense says it is likely accurate and is said to be the result of Russia's big offensive campaign, which is also experiencing major issues. Oleksiy Danilov, Ukraine's Secretary of National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine, has stated that Ukrainian troops are maintaining a strong defense against the Russian defense. Ukraine officials are also predicting a new offensive strategy from Russia as the anniversary of the invasion on February 24th approaches. Meanwhile, according to the National Migration Agency of Argentina, have reported the alarming number of pregnant Russian women entering the country as tourists. However, it is believed that over 5,000 women are entering the country with intentions of giving birth in the nation, in order for their children to receive an Argentinian passport which has more freedom compared to Russia's, which is one of the main problems as explained by Argentina's head of the migration agency, Florencia Carignano, as they are entering Argentina with registering their children as Argentinian, then proceeds to leave once they are finished with the process. Paul Gatchalian, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
We'll share more global stories with you later, but for now, back to you, William.
Thank you, Kath Dumaraos. For those watching our live streaming on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook. The Department of Foreign Affairs is preparing for the repatriation of the remains of a Filipina who died from the devastating magnitude 7.8 earthquake in Turkey. Janice Inhente will tell us why.
The Philippine Embassy in Turkey is now arranging the immediate repatriation of the body of the Filipina who died after the magnitude 7.8 earthquake struck cities in Turkey. According to Eduardo Jose de Vega, the Department of Foreign Affairs Undersecretary for Migrant Workers Affairs, the government will also repatriate other Filipino survivors who wish to return home. He said Filipinos who are already citizens of Turkey by marriage should first reacquire their Filipino citizenship.
Hindi po complicated yan. Kung sinabi ng gusto na umuwi, ipapan lang natin yan. At mauwi. Ang kailangan lang nila, kasi iba sa kanila Turkish citizens na, no? Kailangan reacquire muna yung kanilang Philippine citizenship ayon sa Republic Act 9225, no? So, madali po yan. Kung magagawa natin lahat to, within the next several days, dapat magsisiuwian na yan.
DFA said there is no definite schedule yet on the repatriation. Meanwhile, the Vega reports that the other Filipino fatality was already buried in Turkey based on the decision of her Turkish husband.
Yung isa po, nilibing na po doon kasi desisyon ng asawa. So, yun ang bilang next of kin. Pero yung isa kung linggo mismo, mauwi na yan.
On the other hand, DFA reports that a Filipina and her 3 children have yet to be rescued until now, who was said to be living in a building that collapsed after the quake. Meanwhile, out of 248 Filipinos who were affected by the earthquake in Turkey, 64 of them are staying at a temporary shelter in Ankara. The Philippine government assures it will provide assistance to the quake victims. Janice Enhente, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the Philippines got $13 billion or over 700 billion pesos investment pledges and contributions during President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s 5-day trip to Japan. According to economists, the president's plan of attracting more foreign investments is a good model to boost the Philippine economy. Eileen Cerudo will tell us why.
More foreign investments in the Philippines can help generate more jobs, according to Professor Carlos Manapat, an economist. He explains that there are other ways to boost the economy. One model is increasing the gross domestic product through shifting assets, while another model is through foreign investment.
May maiba-ibang theory to increase output or your gross domestic product. One theory is you may get more foreign direct investments to increase your output. Isa to sa mga models na effective sa Philippines.
Professor Manapat also said that the government is on the right track in its goal to attract more investors. During the Japan visit, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. reported that the investment pledges might generate 24,000 jobs. Go Negosyo founder Joey Concepcion also deemed this beneficial, not just for Filipino workers but also for micro, small, medium enterprises.
We need foreign investors to come to the Philippines to invest in this country so that we can generate more jobs, and especially the activity for our MSMEs will have a better chance. They will have a better chance of scaling up.
Concepcion also hopes that these investments would help in developing businesses in the country. Meanwhile, Professor Manapat said that the laws to ease economic restrictions is enough to attract foreign investors, and there is no need to any drastic change on the Constitution. This is amid the several lawmakers' call for economic charter change.
So for the meantime, we can have some adjustments but not so big, and it should be backed up by readings and articles saying that this is an effective way to get more investments, specifically foreign direct investments.
Eileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Land Transportation Office, or LTO, aims to get rid of fixing in the agency through establishing online portals for different transactions. JP Nunez will tell us why.
The Land Transportation Office, or LTO, continues its mandate to digitalize system in the agency. LTO Chief Assistant Secretary J.R. Tugade said this is their solution to get rid of fixers.
Dahil pinapadali po natin ang proseso, sana po hindi na rin po natin kailangan ng mga fixers. So, isa rin po ito sa mga paraan na ginagawa po namin sa ahensya para po talagang ma-eliminate yung fixers. Yung paghuli po kasi ng fixers, temporary band-aid solution lang po yan eh.
Earlier today, February 14, the LTO launched the online renewal system for vehicle registration. Vehicle owners can now renew their registration through the Land Transportation Management System, or LTMS portal. The agency emphasized that the system could ease the process for vehicle owners.
Aside from declogging our offices, hindi na po pupunta yung mga tao sa mga opisina po natin, ang isa po talagang ginagawa natin dito is pinapadali po natin yung proseso ng pag-transact with LTO.
Through the new system, they can also pay using different online payment methods. For a private vehicle owner, Mabeth sees the system as sigh of relief as she no longer needs to bring her car to LTO office for registration renewal.
Di mas maganda po. Ano po, tulad ko, panggabi ako, overnight, nag-work, tapos imbis na tulog ako ngayon. Di ba? Hindi na ako pupunta dito.
Aside from renewal, LTO aims to launch online system for new registration of motor vehicle on July.
By July 30, magpulong-pulong po ulit tayo. Hopefully by that time, i-roll out na rin po namin yung new registration.
JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The House Committee on Agriculture and Food resumed its motu proprio inquiry on the alleged hoarding and smuggling of onion. During the hearing, a farmers' cooperative accused a trader and the Department of Agriculture in manipulating the supply. Eileen Cerudo will tell us why.
Israel Reguyal, chairman of the Banana Multipurpose Cooperative, alleged that Leia Cruz, a trader and agripreneur, would purchase supplies stored in cold storage units. She would then make it appear that there is a shortage, prompting the Agriculture Department to release an importation order. Cruz is referred to as Mrs. Sibuyas or Onion Queen for her alleged involvement in the cartel of onion and garlic.
Para po kasi, ang pagkakaintindi ko po kasi, kapag ka po ang nabili niya na po yung mga sibuyas ng farmer sa kasamne, wala na pong magrereklamo na paano mag-i-import na tayo kasi wala nang sibuyas ng farmers kasi wala na pong kikibu eh. Kasi nga nabili na nga po kami lahat eh.
Sino po ang tinutukoy nyo na bumibili lahat?
Ayan po si Leia Cruz po. Pag nabili na po ang lahat ng sibuyas, eto na po yung Department of Agriculture. Magpapalabas na po ng import permit. Doon po kami patay. Kaya nga po ito yung napakabigat sa amin. So alam po yan, common knowledge po yan sa amin sa Bungabong. Ganyan po ang nangyayari.
Reguyal also requested for an executive session for him to disclose the names of the DA officials allegedly involved with the supply anomaly. The Agriculture Department has yet to comment on the matter. Meanwhile, Cruz continues to deny the said allegations. Eileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, registered marriages in the country reported to climb at 48.2% or 356,839 couples, according to the Philippine Statistics Authority or PSA. This is higher than the 240,775 that PSA reported in 2020. The agency then states that the number increased because of the lifting of COVID-19 restrictions in the country, while the data for 2020 recorded as the lowest marriages for the past 50 years. PSA added that the median age of the registered married couples was 27 years old for women and 29 years old for men, and 39.6% of this preferred civil ceremony, which equivalents to 141,183 marriages. Meanwhile, outside Metro Manila, Calabarzon reported as the region with the highest number of registered marriages at 14.1%, or 50,211, while the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, or BARM, reported as the region with the lowest registered marriages with 0.7%, or 2,337 registered marriages. The Department of Health, or DOH, has announced a Filipino with no travel history is the first COVID-19 XBB.1.5 subvariant case in the country. Gladys Tawabi tells us why.
The Philippines' first patient infected with COVID-19 XBB.1.5 subvariant has already recovered from mild symptoms. According to the Department of Health, or DOH, the first case is a Filipino with no travel history.
Yung XBB 1.5 na case is a Filipino, local siya na detection. No? There were no histories of any type of travel unknown yung kanyang exposure.
The DOH already had a contact tracing to the patient's close contacts, and all were symptomatic.
Sa ngayon, tapos na rin yung kanilang kung sakasakali na stage where they need to quarantine para lang mapigilan natin ang transmission kung sa kanila.
XBB.1.5 is considered as a variant of interest or VOI due to its increasing prevalence globally and enhanced immune-evading properties. Meanwhile, the health department continues to coordinate with the country, which confirmed to donate bivalent vaccines to identify its expiry date and make sure every dose will be utilized. 2 other countries also expressed their desire to donate bivalent vaccines. Gladys Tuabi, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The White House has defended its decision to shoot down 3 unidentified flying objects, including the latest unmanned object traveling at such a low altitude over Lake Huron. Nerissa Dando tells us why live. Nerissa?
Good evening, Kath. The United States acknowledged that the 3 recent unidentified flying objects into their airspace had no indication they were intended for surveillance. But White House National Security Council spokesman John Kirby said in a recent press conference they still couldn't rule that out. No evidence has been found yet to indicate they were equipped for spying purposes. Kirby said they still pose a risk to the country as it travels lower than the Chinese high-altitude balloon and is a threat to civilian air traffic.
We did, however, assess that their altitudes were considerably lower than the Chinese high-altitude balloon and did pose a threat to civilian commercial air traffic. And while we have no specific reason to suspect that they were conducting surveillance of any kind, we couldn't rule that out.
U.S. President Joe Biden ordered to shoot them down at the recommendation of the Secretary of Defense, the Chairman of Joint Chief of Staff, and the combined U.S.-Canada organization known as NORAD. Kirby added that various entities could operate at these low altitudes, such as companies, research, and academic organizations. But officials have not yet definitively assessed what those flying objects were and said that they acted out of an abundance of caution to protect the country's security and interest. Kirby's statement came hours after China alleged that more than 10 U.S. high-altitude balloons have flown in its airspace during the past year, to which the American officials have vigorously denied. Kath?
Thank you, Nerissa Dando, for that report live from Japan. North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, encourages Ukraine's Western allies to increase their military support. Marvy Delfin tells us why live. Yes, Marvy?
As the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO members, and Ukraine's allies race to arrange more weapons and ammunition for the country comes after NATO sees no indication that Russia's President Vladimir Putin is willing to back down against their war in Ukraine. This after cities in Ukraine such as Bakhmut came under heavy artillery fire on Monday, February 13, forcing Ukrainians to brace for possible ground attacks. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg emphasized the importance of time for the support and weapons to reach Ukraine before Russia can inflict further damage to the country, especially since the one-year anniversary of the war is approaching. Ukrainian Defense Minister Oleksiy Reznikov has also called attention to include logistical support, Air Force military training, and arranging tank coalition as part of NATO's agenda. According to the deputy commander of Ukraine's Svoboda Battalion, Volodymyr Nazarenko, the entirety of Bakhmut and Konstantinivka experienced major shelling by Russian artillery, leaving the area in ruins as military only have access to protected positions in Bakhmut. Nazarenko also added that their defenses are ready to take on any attacks despite the absence of fighting in the city center and the area being surrounded by a military stronghold. On Wednesday, February 15, NATO and Ukraine's Western allies will also discuss other defenses on Ukraine's eastern flank and ramping up military budgets. Back to you, Kath.
Thank you, Marvi Delfin, reporting live from Australia. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I'm Kat Maraos, live from Bangkok, Thailand. Good evening.
The Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, has filed the 8th protest this year against China following the laser pointing incident in Ayungin Shoal last February 6. According to the DFA, the note verbal was submitted today, February 14, at the Chinese Embassy in Manila. It is stated that the Philippines strongly condemns the harassment against the Philippine Coast Guard personnel aboard the BRP Malapascua. DFA stresses that the lightning of Chinese military-grade laser that caused temporary blindness to the Filipino crew members is illegal and poses a serious threat. This is clearly a breach of Philippine sovereignty. Meanwhile, President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. has summoned Chinese ambassador to the Philippines, Wang Xilian, this afternoon to discuss the growing and concerning actions taken by China against Philippine Coast Guard and Filipino fishermen. The Malacanang announced on Tuesday, February 14, that President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. has signed an executive order, or EO number 16, reorganizing the Presidential Communications Office, or the PCO, to ensure efficient delivery of its core services to the public and consolidate communications activities. The EO number 16 supplements EO number 11 series of 2022, signed by the President Marcos Jr. last December 29, 2022, which streamlined the administrative structure of the Office of the President and renamed the Office of the Press Secretary, or OPS, to PCO. The circular also said that the revamped PCO will still be headed by a secretary who will be supported by 5 undersecretaries, 14 assistant secretaries, and 1 assistant secretary directly reporting to the PCO secretary. It also mentioned that the 5 undersecretaries will lead the 5 functional areas in the restructured PCO, namely traditional media and external affairs, digital media services, content production, broadcast production and operations administration, and finance. The restructured PCO will now closely coordinate with the Presidential Advisor for Creative Communications on communications and information dissemination concerns. Executive Order number 16 will also change the relevant provisions of EO number 2 series of 2022, which places on the Office of the President some government-owned and controlled corporations, or GOCCs. In other news, water concessionaire Maynilad Water Services has announced the extension of water service interruptions in areas affected by northeast monsoon. Maynilad first advised the public that they will impose water service outage from February 10 to 14, but soon further announced its extension to February 17. The affected areas include Las Piñas City, Muntinlupa, Parañaque, and Pasay City. Also in portions of Bacoor, Imus, Rosario, Noveleta, and Cavite City are affected by the announced water service interruption extension. Metropolitan Waterworks and Sewage System, or MWSS, said it is due to prolonged high raw water turbidity brought by northeast monsoon, or amihan. The agency added that they will continue to monitor the 2 concessionaires, and rebates would be possible if both Maynilad and Manila Water violate their service obligation. Maynilad and Manila Water then apologized for the inconvenience that the interruption has caused the customers and advised them to let the water flow first once water service resumed. Our kasangbahay, as the world faces these trying times amid the pandemic caused by coronavirus, we are inviting everyone to join the global prayer for humanity.
Good day. I'm Brother Eli Soriano of the members of the Church of God International. I want to invite you to join us in a minute of prayer every day to pray for humanity and the whole world as we go through these perilous times. While safety measures like washing of hands and strengthening of our immune systems may help us through this horrible predicament, there is still no precaution or cure more powerful than God's mighty intervention. And we need His intervention now more than ever. It doesn't matter what religion you are in or what denomination you belong. This is an invitation for all the people around the world who cares for the future of their family, friends, loved ones, and humanity as a whole. Everybody is welcome to pray with us. For more details, you can check out the description box below. Thank you very much, and I hope to hear from you soon. May God bless you.
And before we close, we will leave you with a word giving glory to God from the book of 1 John chapter 3 verse 16. It says, "Hereby perceive we the love of God, because He laid down His life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for the brethren." And those are the reasons behind the news, February 14, 2023, reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.